And a reminder, the first 30 minutes of this podcast are available on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Google and many of the major platforms. The full podcast is available at www.patreon.com/SRBmedia. SRBmedia.
Good evening, Gabby.
Good evening, TC, and welcome all to our weekly podcast, Terry Currans, the Curran View with the Isle of Hillsborough. Mr. Terry Curran, steady away, son, how are you?
Not too bad. Gabby?
Out of jail as well now, ain't you?
Yeah, out of jail. How long for? I'm not quite sure.
No, you'll probably be put in jail again rather soon.
They cannot put me in jail now because the truth's coming out.
Well, the truth always comes out eventually. The woke always will try and keep the uneducated and the clowns away from the truth. But it's like we're always like, we don't know what's true and what isn't true. And, you know, the world is a very, very funny place. Strange things have been going on. What magic moments have you sourced for us, TC, this week? There's been loads as usual.
I know. It's incredible, but we have to pick one because it's in our podcast that we do pick a magic moment. But I'm going for Rashford's.
Yes.
First goal, but he nutmegged him, and he has turned Man United around, and it's been two bad results for him in one sense because they've been leading twice.
Yeah.
But they're on the way back, and he's another one I said would be elite manager. He is an elite manager, and he'll turn Man United round.
At the top of the podcast moments before, I did mention about the woke, and before I go on to my magic moments, the most wokeness thing I've seen recently is a white card for fair play. I mean, football and the world is going crackers. I did see something about a carbon footprint today, and I posted up, what a load of BS. If football really wanted to have a carbon footprint, they would get rid of the Champions League, they would get rid of all these internationals, they'd bring back the home internationals, and they'd bring back the European Cup. But they tell us to cycle to our game, eat vegan food, because we're saving the planet. Do they think we're all stupid?
Yeah, but what you forgot there is this. They can fly around in the private jet.
Absolutely.
Right?
Mm.
They will have bottles of champagne and wine and the beers and everything else what goes with it served by waitresses and waiters. Yeah?
Yeah.
And they want us to eat bugs.
Absolutely. It's incredible, isn't it? And
by the way, people get
it.
brainwashed with it. Some will think, it's not a bad idea. That's what we should be doing.
Absolutely.
But they will do what they want to do.
Of course they will. And this is what it is. I think what we should do when we open up the podcast, Terry Curran's Curran View, we should say it's not for the woke. And it isn't, because we say it as we see it. And I've got to say, a magic moment was again tonight. Forest, as we're speaking, are playing Manchester United, no City ground, Mulligan Tyre. That is a magnificent moment. And I think that Forest and Stevie Cooper really are fighting back. They're producing results on the pitch. I'm hoping that they produce enough to stay up and then regroup and rebuild for next season, because Forest are credit to football.
I think the atmosphere is now there. It's the best I've ever seen it.
Yeah,
even when there was, they were great, not good. They were great atmosphere. Don't get me wrong, but the atmosphere at Forest now it's incredible. It's buzzing.
Yeah.
But that's the Premier League for you, because it's had all that publicity. It's been pushed that much that everybody thinks football only began with the Premier League, like you've been saying since on this podcast.
Absolutely, and it is the League Cup, not the Premier League tonight. It's Nottingham Forest versus Manchester United, a former club of yours and a club that you almost went to. And the other tie in the semi-final was Newcastle United versus Southampton, a team that you almost again went to, and a team that you got to the final of the League Cup in 1979. So it's
And I
almost like
nearly,
the
and I
Terry
nearly,
Curran.
and I nearly signed for Manchester United.
Well, this
Fact.
is what I'm saying. Yeah, you nearly signed for United. You almost signed for Newcastle because I
Yeah,
think Arthur
I
Cox phoned you up after you'd
told you
already
they
done a
offered me
deal.
£150,000 signing on fee.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's almost like the Terry Curran League Cup semi-final,
Semi-final.
isn't it? This season of 2023. Scott Twine, his free kick for Burnley, that took all 3 points in that game against West Bromwich Albion. Albion took an early lead, but as you've alluded to on many times in our podcasts, Vincent Kompany, what a job he's done there with Burnley Football Club.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible.
and Scott Twine, a great signing that they acquired from MK Dons, but he's been injured a little bit, so it's been a stop and start time for Scott. But great to see him on the pitch and produced a magical moment the weekend last Friday against West Bromwich Albion.
Incredible. It's incredible. I put a post up this week, and I told you last week,
Yeah,
because I only got back on Monday, about if I was Everton now, if I was owner of Everton, or they asked for my advice, it would be get Vincent Kompany now before it's too late.
I did hear going to work this morning on TalkSport an Evertonian saying exactly the same thing.
He must have read my post. He must have read my post.
He probably
in the
did
Currans
too.
view and on my wall itself.
Absolutely, but what I do and what I did hear as well was Everton need Sean Dyche, and I'm thinking, oh no, they don't need Sean Dyche. They need a Vincent Kompany. They need a Steve Cooper. They need a Marco Silva. They need a Graham Potter.
Marco Silva was there.
I know he was. It didn't quite happen at the time, and I don't know why. But what a job he's doing with Fulham. There are lots of good managers about that are playing good football. For me, Sean Dyche never has been the fit, never will be the fit. I've always liked Burnley from in the 70s. Oh, blimey, Rashford just scored the first goal. He is really on fire. I don't know what's happened with the turnaround with him. Alan Hudson said a number of years ago, forget about all your stuff that you're doing, concentrate on being a footballer.
Listen,
perhaps he listened to My Life, My Music.
I get that. But listen, a manager's job is to get the best out of his players.
Correct.
New manager in, he looks a different player, because I wrote out this kid's going to be a star.
Yeah.
Right? And you can say, well, what's happening off the pitch? I get that.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it myself with people. Right? But players don't make a difference where you are. They don't enjoy going in if they're not enjoying training and they're not getting results and everything's going against it. And then the media start to, make out that it's this, it's that, it's other. It starts with the manager having belief in you as a player. Like I said about Moyes last week.
Yep.
Signs Ings. What's not been done a game on a regular basis, and I'm not blaming that neither, because I said that I mentioned what I thought about that last week. And that Alves went to Manchester City, and he turns Alves down before Manchester City, and then he signs Ings.
Yeah.
You see, the managers in this country have got to learn, right, is not to dislike players.
Yeah.
Cloughy, right, he said to one or two players, I don't like you, young man. He said it to Martino. Everybody thinks him and Martino, they got better later on in life. Right? But Martin, he used to bug him because he always thought that he was good enough to be in team. And by the way, I think he was, because he was a good player.
Yeah.
But he wanted to play midfield. And I remember I listened to Martin the other week when he turned around and said, everybody thought, no, I was there when he pulled us all in, and Martin asked that question about why am I on bench? It's because I haven't got a third team.
Yeah.
And it's true. I lost my rag with McMenemy when quarter-final of the League Cup with West Brom. You know, it went into injury time. I was bursting for a wee. Right? People always look at, no, I've never been a trouble causer. I express my opinions, but not like you people think I do.
Yeah.
And I needed a wee, and we're on pitch, and I was my hand up, and they were trying to take the piss as though my input meant nothing.
Yeah.
And then he eventually turned around and he said to me, "What do you want?" I said, "I need to go to the toilet." I could have just run off the pitch. But I have respect for people.
Mm-hmm.
The manager's job is to get the balance of the team right, pick the right team, put on right coaching sessions, not drills. Right? You put drills on for players, what's technically brilliant.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm.
What then they've got to do is get the best out of the players. Right? There's some players do need the arm round them, and there's some you can give a bollocking to. Right? It's getting all that right to become an elite manager.
Well, he looks as though he's doing the right things, and he's certainly getting a performance out of a tune out of Marcus Rashford. And
Incredible.
if England were playing tomorrow, he would be the first name on the team sheet. That's how much Marcus Rashford has improved. Because before the World Cup, there would have been a number of people that wouldn't have even took him and put him on the plane. But now he is absolutely on fire. Harry Kane, another player on fire. 266th goal for Tottenham Hotspur. Well done, Harry Kane. And he's equalled Jimmy Greaves' record of 266 goals for Tottenham Hotspur.
It's incredible.
Not strictly true. Not strictly true, T.
Sorry?
It's not strictly true.
Go on.
Jimmy Greaves scored 268 goals for Tottenham Hotspur. That I knew, but I didn't know where the missing 2 goals come from until I was listening to Martin Samuels talk on Talk Sport. I think it was Monday morning when I was going to work, and he explained that when Tottenham beat Ipswich 5-1 in the Charity Shield, Jimmy scored 2 goals. One in the first half, I think on the 37th minute, and the second on, I think, 58 minutes in the second half. But Tottenham don't class that as a goal. If he'd have played for Liverpool, Liverpool class their Charity Shield goals as goals, but Tottenham don't. So had Tottenham counted them 2 goals, he would have scored 268 goals. So Harry Kane hasn't actually equalled Jimmy Greaves' haul of 268 goals for Tottenham. He's still 2 behind him. And in the league, I think he scored 199, Harry, now, but Jimmy scored 220 league goals. And he also scored 124 goals before that for Chelsea, and he scored 13 goals after for West Ham, giving a grand total of 357 league goals. But in total, Jimmy scored 442 goals in 602 games in his professional career.
You see, what I will say about all this, and I'm in agreement with you 100% on all this. Football didn't start in 1992.
No.
What I will say for Harry Kane, his goal record is incredible.
Absolutely.
Because he went on loan to about 4 or 5 clubs, and not many of them picked him.
Yeah.
Even Harry Redknapp turned around and said he didn't think he was going to be a player.
Yeah.
Right? But when you look at Harry Kane, he does come this way a lot towards his own goal.
Yeah, he does.
Right?
Mm.
Whereas Jimmy Greaves always went that way.
Yeah.
Right? And Tom was telling me, we'll listen to somebody talking about Jimmy Greaves on the Talk Sport. He never blasted a goal. He
no,
would
pace and place.
Pass and place, or go around the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
So you know as well as I do, today's modern day football and today's modern day media will always make out that football were better today than it was at any other point in football's history, and that's not the case. But because I mean, no one can ever prove it, could they? Really?
No, because football back then was football back then, and football now is football now. It's the same game. We've still got 22 players, 11 on each side, trying to beat each other, and the goals are still the same. The pitches are better these days. You don't get kicked from pillar to post these days. The equipment is much better these days. So I think if you put the former player on the modern pitches with all the attributes and assistances that the modern player has got, with diet, with training, etc., etc., I think that all of those greats of yesteryear would be able to play today, but I'm not convinced most of the players today would be able to play yesteryear.
Well, again, it's a good, honest answer, that, because half of them want to get out and play in cold weather, near mind anything else, because it was a lot colder in our days. It were icy pitches, there was snow.
Yeah.
The pitches were poor to play on, and the training was a lot different to what it is today.
Oh, 100%.
So I'm agreeing with everything what you've just said there.
100%, T. And I'd also like to give a mention to Bruno Guimaraes' performance last night for Newcastle. I watched him. I think he's a tremendous reader of the game and a passer of the ball. I don't know if you've seen Bruno
I keep telling everybody into.
Oh, great player he is. Great player.
I've told you all. Balance, understanding of the game, when and where to be, when and where to make a run, great decision making, quality of your pass, quality of your crossing, and quality in supporting whatever the ball is, with the man in possession or out of possession.
Absolutely. I also want to give a mention to an artist, a local artist from where I am here in Birmingham, Louise Cobbold Art. She's done a unbelievable amount of paintings of Wolverhampton Wanderers players in particular. And if you go on to her website, which is sportspersonalities.org, to, I think it's the 7th of February when it changes, and I'll talk about that in a short while. There are some phenomenal pictures. Ruben Neves, do you remember when Villa were 2-0 up and coasting last season against Wolves, and Wolves scored a couple of late goals and then pretty much got a free kick with the last kick of the game? Neves had a free kick, I think it was deflected, and Wolves ended up running out 3-2 winners at Villa Park, and she's captured that moment of Neves, with his two, I can't remember the two teammates that's in the picture, but in the background, Adama Traore and Tyrone Mings, her attention to detail. She's even got the mud on Ruben Neves' knee and talks about it in her post. So guys, check out this local artist, Louise Cobbold Art, and then after, in early February, it's going to go to louisecobbold.com, and she draws lots of, I think she's going to be drawing lots of other football players, not just Wolves. I think this project is coming to an end, but you can go on there and you can have a look, and she does other drawings, and I've looked at these drawings, these paintings, and I've said to people, I've said to Tom, have a look at that, son. He said, it's a photo. I said, no, it's not. It's her drawings. It's her paintings. They are absolutely phenomenal. And I think artists, like with footballers, where we've just been talking about footballers at the top of the tree.
What does she charge for those things?
I'm not sure, but again, if you go on to the website, and I'll give it again, I'll give you two: sportspersonalities.org and louisecobbold.com, and you can look at her work. She's got a Facebook page. She's got a Twitter page. She's very prominent on social media. So check them out, and you will be absolutely astounded by this young lady's talent with a brush. It is phenomenal.
Brilliant. Because I wouldn't mind. No doubt she'll have one. One of my idols, George Best. So I won't mind. I will have a look at that website.
Well, I am in contact with her. I did say, have you got 5 minutes for a quick chat, because I do want to partner up with Louise, and we're also looking to partner up with the Lou Macari Centre. Ted, who's one of Alan Hudson's friends and a Facebook. Well, you know Ted, Stoke Ted, don't you, Cockney Ted?
Yes.
And I mean, Ted has to be, in my opinion, the supporter of the year, and not just this year, but every year. He follows Stoke everywhere. There's nothing that Ted doesn't know about Stoke City. And he spent the night last night. He was at the Macari Centre with Lou, and he's going to have a chat with Lou either tomorrow and Friday. And I'm going to then, because I want to do a couple of podcasts with Lou. One, to promote the Lou Macari Centre, because you brought this up, T, on a podcast a couple of weeks ago with Lou Macari's work for the homeless, and the amount of people. I know, exactly. I know.
MBE for that, or OBE, whatever, you know what I mean? It's incredible.
But so many people say that on social media. How does Lou Macari not get an MBE for his work? I know the Stoke Sentinel, great paper there in Stoke-on-Trent. They do a number of articles with Uddy, have done and still do. And they done recently a feature on the Macari Centre with Lou Macari. And again, I would like to talk to him about that, make a podcast, and do Legends of the 70s, because although Lou is doing great work for the homeless, what a great player he was, wasn't he? Luigi
he could have
Macari.
gone to Liverpool, when Liverpool were at the peak.
Absolutely, yeah. And he was in a great reserve team at Celtic with Kenny Dalglish as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, as a kid, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Lou Macari, I mean, what a player, and what a job he's doing now off the field.
What a man.
Absolutely. So, with Louise and Lou, well, both Lou's, aren't they? There must be something in the name Lou. We'd like to partner up and help these people and give them shout outs, because it's all about linking, it's all about networking, it's all about helping, and sharing is caring, and doing what we can. A partner that we have, Book Corner, in association with myfootballbooks.com, Andy from myfootballbooks.com always sends us a book, and his recommendation this week is 61, The Spurs Double by Adam Powley and Martin Cloak. Looks like a great book. Of course, Tottenham, the first team of the century to win the double in 1961.
Incredible, because they all talk about that team, but what a great footballing team it was.
And what a lot of people also, because they were a great team, but don't realise is Jimmy Greaves wasn't a member of the double winning side.
I mean, one of the main players back then was Cliff Jones.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, they all spoke about what a winger he was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Bobby Smith.
But
I mean,
again, when you think about it, to do a double, and like when I got to round about when it got to round about 67, 68, I remember more of the great teams then. I remember Liverpool 65.
Yes.
And Leeds 65, especially FA Cup. And they went on to have decades of success, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
At least a decade of success. Where Tottenham won the double and then fell by the wayside.
Forest won one, by the way.
All the other things, and you think, well, once you won a double like that, you should be able to pull in the best players.
Absolutely. Forest have just equalised, by the way. Great run by Morgan Gibbs-White. Puts it over to Sam Surridge, and he's just stuck it in the onion bag. I don't know if you are you in your bedroom watching the game?
No, I'm Jock's in the bedroom and Tom's watching. And I'll see if he's coming to it, Jock, and I'll. No.
if actually, I'm not sure if VAR is. Yeah, they have got VAR, and it's going to be ruled out because he was offside.
Okay.
Yeah, it just meant he's run a little bit too early. It's going to be ruled off. Yeah, it says goal check impossible offside, but he is offside. To be fair, but there you go.
So I'm in teaching, so I can't see it. So you have to keep me up to
Yeah,
date with it.
it's definitely offside too. As soon as I look at, you know, what I mean, what amazes me with this VAR, and there's nothing wrong with VAR. Let's keep VAR, but can we sack all the referees because they haven't got a clue how to use it? When they look at clear and obvious, and it takes 20 times that they look at the same freeze frame and pictures
It takes
and
2 or 3 minutes to give a decision.
how can that be clear and obvious? They're re-refereeing the game. It's not what it's meant to be. It's meant to assist the referee by video, not to re-referee by video. But there you go. Spurs double 61. Adam Paley, and Adam was the fella that helped Steve Perryman put his autobiography together as well. My Lily White Life by Forever a Spur, Steve Perryman. A work of art, not just a book, a work of art. Two books that I really want to give a mention to before we move on from Tottenham, because we did mention Harry Kane and Jimmy Greaves. Natural, the Jimmy Greaves story by David Tossell, forward by Sir Geoff Hurst, and another book, the one and only Jimmy Greaves, authorised biography by the man that knew him best, Norman Giller, and introduced by Irene Greaves, his wife. Norman Giller, are you familiar with Norman? I think he wrote about
No.
20 books with Jimmy. He's a journalist of many years, obviously now retired. He's in his 80s, but he used to be called Giller the Filler when he worked with Jimmy on one of the papers.
Yeah, you see, don't forget, we get a different version up here. I know
Yeah,
when
you
I was
do.
down Southampton, you would get the Southern version of the paper. You know, the headlines would be Liverpool, Man United, Leeds, all that type of
Yeah.
stuff this way, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and then down south, I don't know whether Birmingham come down. Headlines was with the Southern batch of the newspapers. It vaguely back in the head. The name does ring a bell, but
Yeah.
it's not screaming out at me.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Tottenham Hotspur, Norman Giller, absolute legend of the pen, as Jimmy was a legend of the pitch. And two books here: Magical, A Life in Football, the autobiography of Paul Fletcher, MBE. Paul's got an MBE with Dave Thomas. Not Dave Thomas, the winger, but Dave Thomas, a writer, a very esteemed writer of Burnley Football Club books, and a great picture of Paul, not in his playing days, but fully suited and booted, because when Paul finished playing football, he went on to design football grounds. And the other book in our trilogy, because we always focus on three books, is a novel that he wrote. We have spoken about it before, and it's Saturday, Bloody Saturday, a game more serious than life or death. And it's a story of it was a coach driver, but the story that Paul was told many years ago was about a referee who stayed in a hotel in London, cut a key out, and then when he refereed in London, he went back to the hotel, that room, and rifled the room because he was a kleptomaniac. And it also involves the IRA when they were bombing, and he talks about the great Leeds United team. So it's very much a book of football in the 70s, how the dressing room, the dynamics of the dressing room, there was always an Englishman, Irishman, a Scotsman, and a Welsh player, or a couple of each. And there was always a dresser, there was a comedian, there was a ladies' man, there was a gambler, there was a drinker. You had all these characters in the 70s, didn't you? So he's encapsulated all of that in a fantastic book. And Alistair Campbell has put his name to the book because, as Paul said, he didn't want to get in trouble with the IRA. Well, you wouldn't, but you can relate to that because whatever dressing room that you went to in the 70s,
and you can listen to the rest of this podcast on www.patreon.com/SRBmedia.